Hi, I'm Mayor Tim Balderman, and I'd like to welcome you to a very special program that we're hosting here today. This program will deal with the referendum question that you'll see on the April 5th ballot. Joining me today is Mr. David Hoover, the Director of NYMEC. David, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And can you tell us a little bit about NYMEC, what NYMEC is?
Yeah, NYMEC is a buying cooperative of 100 municipalities in northern Illinois. We were formed in 2006 in anticipation of the deregulation of the Commonwealth Edison system, and we have been helping municipalities purchase their power that they use for their own internal operations at lower prices than ComEd since 2007.
Okay, which leads us to the referendum ballot question that we're going to have for our residents here on April 5th.
Right.
What is this referendum and what does it mean for our residents?
Yeah, the bottom line on the referendum, the entire goal of the referendum is to lower your residents' home ComEd bills.
Okay.
We are not dealing, this referendum does not deal with the municipalities' billing. All we're trying to do through this referendum, through the city's trying to do, is to lower the residents' ComEd bills for their own home accounts.
Okay, and that will go, that'll happen by the village having the ability to purchase power at a lower cost. How can we do that?
Yeah, the state of Illinois has recently changed legislation that allows a municipality to negotiate with other power companies for the energy piece only, much like you're doing now with the municipal operations, for the energy piece only to see if the municipality can negotiate rates lower than what the residents would pay at ComEd.
Okay, and we obviously have a few questions we're going to go over, but I think we should probably get the big one out of the way.
Yep.
The funny thing, the thing that most people don't realize, and to be perfectly candid with you, I didn't realize until we started getting into this discussion, is that we're not getting our power from ComEd now. It's being delivered by ComEd, but it's not, ComEd is not the supplier of the power. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, and probably the biggest misperception out there. Commonwealth Edison, starting in 2007, no longer generated any power. They moved all of those facilities upstream to their parent. ComEd is simply now just a wires company. All they do is distribute the power. They, in essence, purchase the power from a myriad of power suppliers, pass that through to the residents now at a stated cost, and ComEd does not benefit from that financially in any way, shape, or form. They do charge residents and commercial accounts for their delivery fees.
Right.
And those delivery fees are regulated by the ICC, and they're compensated, and where the power comes from, they are indifferent.
Okay, so regardless of where it comes from, ComEd doesn't care because it doesn't care. There have been some concerns, of course, that have been raised. One is, well, if you don't get your power from ComEd, which we already know we're not getting the power source from ComEd,
right,
that they're going to raise their distribution rates or something to make up for it. That has nothing to do with any of this at all, correct?
That is correct. They can't raise their delivery fees or distribution rates. They have to go to the ICC for that. And again, just a reminder is that they have been in this scenario since 2007, where they haven't been generating the power themselves. So it has been it's in a sense more of the same since 2007.
Okay, so if you've got a relative at ComEd or you've got, whatever, it's in, like you said, they're indifferent about this. They don't care one way or another.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a power outage, who's responsible for taking care of that?
That's a great question, and the answer is ComEd, just like it was prior to 2007, after 2007, whether you purchase your power, it's billed through ComEd, or whether you purchase your power commercially through another entity, ComEd is still being compensated to maintain those wires and the distribution system, and included that is to maintain and repair any outages. So no change whatsoever, and I just put it back to you, since the municipality's been purchasing its power since 2007 from an entity other than ComEd, you've had no issues commercially on your side. None
whatsoever.
Right.
In fact, like I said, I was unaware that the actual power wasn't ComEd's, that it was just a delivery service to begin with.
Correct.
Now, we get into this program, and if the referendum passes, the village then has the ability to shop for lower rates. But we don't necessarily have to take advantage of that, correct? Can you tell how that works?
Yeah, that's correct. First of all, on the April ballot, let me just back up just a touch and say on the April ballot there are 24 communities in northern Illinois that are going to be placing this on their ballot. And there's approximately 450 communities in northern Illinois. So first of all, my hat's off to the village for putting it, for kind of being out in front on this and putting it on the ballot in April. Because again, only 24 communities are doing that, offering this opportunity to their residents. The rest have to wait until 2012 for the next ballot option. So I do commend you and your and the board for taking the initiative to do this.
Well, thank you. We certainly like to be progressive around here. We appreciate the comment.
And secondly, I know you haven't asked this, but there is nothing in this for the municipality itself. This is 100% designed to lower the residents' bills, period, end of conversation. All the municipality does is act as the negotiator, as the aggregator, is the term that the legislation refers to. Somebody to decide if there is a better rate for the community, much like you do for your waste hauling and maybe cable TV transactions.
Okay. So let's say the referendum passes and we shop around and we decide that we're going to go with company X to get the power from. And for whatever reason, somebody in the community or a group of people, whatever, decide they don't want that. They want to stick with what we have now. Can they opt out, and if so, how?
Yeah, every resident will have the option to opt out if they so choose. When the village goes out and negotiate or receives the bids, the responses from the bids, we'll know what the ComEd rate is. Let's say it's 7 cents. And it's going to be pretty simple. If we can beat the 7 cents, my guess is the board will move forward. But again, I'll just say again, the board gets to make that final decision. So regardless of whatever the bids come back, regardless, even if the residents pass the referendum and give you the option to look at rates, and you get favorable rates, if you have any reservations whatsoever as a board, you are not obligated to move forward, and you can sit tight. If the rates don't come in better than the ComEd rates, you have the option to stay in the ComEd rates. So we will hopefully bring you a rate lower than the ComEd rate, and if that's the case, I would presume that most people would want to do that. In the event that somebody doesn't want to do that and doesn't agree with the process, they will have the option to opt out individually of the program. They will be mailed at least one, if not two, direct mailings, and they'll have the option to come to City Hall and to get an opt-out form if they so choose.
Okay. But these companies, and again, the biggest misconception is right now everyone thinks the power is ComEd power and you'll be going to Joe's Electric.
Right.
That's not the case. As we're shopping, as you're shopping for these different power sources, they're all reputable sources to buy power from, correct? Everything is...
Correct. The Illinois Commerce Commission has wanted to ensure, since deregulation started really in full effect, it started in '97, they wanted to ensure that there were quality suppliers and there were no outages or of that nature. So they have capital requirements in place. And so the more a supplier purchases power and arranges for power, their capital requirements grow, and they have to put those capital requirements up to the ICC. So that ensures that there's some financial backing behind this. There are no lightweights, shall we say. The ICC has made sure that that's the case, and rightfully so, since 2007, when deregulation really kicked in big form. No one has heard of any issues whatsoever about that.
Yeah, it's not some guy in his basement supplying power somewhere.
That's correct. And to that effect, it's 76% of the commercial load in the upper classes has already left ComEd and is purchasing power like the municipality is.
Right.
And again, it's worked seamlessly since
We've seen savings that, with no interruption, everything appears to be the same. There's been no difference.
Right, and there's been no headlines or no stories since 2007 of any issues in Illinois of suppliers having supply problems. So we've been at this for a while. The Illinois Commerce Commission has requirements for the types of power companies that they're going to allow into Illinois, and they're reputable, strong financial companies.
Okay, so let's say.
By the way, the companies the companies that we're working with right now, in our bid group that we go out and work with, they're all publicly traded. They're on the New York Stock Exchange, and reputable firms.
Very good. So let's say we go with company X. Referendum passes. You bring us some good rates. We switch to company X, and now, for whatever reason, there's a great need of power during an occasion, and we have a brownout or something happens where we have to get power from another source now. Will the resident be paying the contracted rate that they had with that company, or will they have to pay a different rate? And what's the difference between what would happen today as opposed to us switching?
Well, I'm not sure that I can answer that question.
Okay.
As far as the pricing is concerned, what will happen in any catastrophe, shall we say, is if there are outages, Commonwealth Edison is required to provide power through the system, regardless of the supplier. So there is a term called provider of last resort. It's a legal term in the legislation, and Commonwealth Edison is that player. And as a result, they have the obligation, if any supplier has any issues whatsoever about serving their load, Commonwealth Edison has a certain amount of backup generation capacity available today to step in the instance. Fortunately, again, since 2006, really going back to 97, but in 2007 is when it really kind of mushroomed as far as a lot of the commercial class. We have had no issues. So if something does happen to, let's say, our particular supplier that we bring to you, if hypothetically, if there's an issue, then Commonwealth Edison would step in. I mean, seamlessly, they would just step in and continue to provide power. Okay. The issue that you're talking about is more, I would almost call it catastrophic, is if then the whole system in Chicagoland has less power available than the needs, regardless of any situation whatsoever. I believe it's going to be ComEd's policy to start to do rolling brownouts. Sure. That would just they would most likely advertise, let everybody know, and then move them around. That's a system-wide ComEd decision place. Catastrophe plan.
And when have we seen that around here?
The last time that we ever saw anything like that, actually it wasn't here, if you remember, it was probably 10, 12 years ago in New York.
Yes, I remember.
There was an issue there, and the grid was unable to get them power. Manhattan shut down. But again, here in Illinois, we haven't had any issues like that.
Okay. One of the programs that people take advantage of is the budgeting program that ComEd has. Where you pay the same amount every month. Is that something that would be available should we switch power?
Again, I will say most likely. The reason for that is that we're not 100% sure how this will all work out, but we've just actually heard yesterday that it appears that if the supplier that we choose uses Commonwealth Edison for the billing, then Commonwealth Edison will be able to continue to extend that budget program. Okay. So we're answering another question, is that the question that you may ask me is, if we move to a new supplier, who's going to get the billing? Where will the bill come from? Well, the city has the option to continue to use Commonwealth Edison. And it'll be up to you to decide that. There'll be a price difference, obviously, and if you feel the price difference doesn't warrant it, then we do have the option to continue to use ComEd as the bill, so the customer would still get the bill from ComEd. And that being the case, it's our impression right now, and this is still a fluid situation, but our impression is right now that ComEd would be able to continue to extend that budget program. If that somehow doesn't work out, then the customer could opt out of the program and continue their current program they have with ComEd, the budget program they have right now. We hope that's not the case. Okay. We would rather pass those savings on to everybody. Sure. Yeah.
And right now, something that you had talked about, I think, and I could be wrong, but I thought the number you had told me before was there are 500 people or so, or households, that already take advantage of opting out and getting their power somewhere else, because every resident of the state has had the ability to do this already for the past few years, but people don't know about it or whatever. So there have been 500 that I'm assuming have enjoyed some savings without any issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, the last statistic available was July of 2010, and I believe it was 600 residents out of 3.4 million residents had moved into this, what they call an opt-in program, and that has been available since 2007 for a resident to move into that individually. So municipality aside, much like they switched their own long-distance carrier, they could, if they wanted to, they could have made a switch on their own. Suppliers really haven't been active in the marketplace on an individual resident basis, and as a result, the buy-in has been minimal. But it is, you know, again, we've heard of no issues, service issues whatsoever on that front.
Sure, and it's a lot easier for us as a municipality if we're negotiating on behalf of 8,000 households as opposed to an individual household trying to get this.
Correct.
Okay, so in recapping what we've got here, number one, and probably the biggest misconception, is your power supplier right now is not ComEd. They are the delivery service, but they're not the supplier of power, and they have not been for the last 4 years.
Yeah, that is correct, and that will not change.
And that will not change. So somewhere on your current ComEd bill, does it say where your power comes from? Or?
It does not.
Okay.
There is an agency that negotiates that. They come up with a power rate from every May to every May for 12 months at a time. They fix the rate for that period of time. ComEd just bills that through on their bill. You'll see an energy charge.
Okay.
And then they pass that through back to the group of suppliers that is providing that. That's a pure pass-through. There is some other charges on there for the delivery. ComEd keeps that, and that's how they fund their operations. That's their business model.
Okay. So if this referendum passes, the municipality has the ability with you to try and negotiate a lower rate and accept a lower rate that's been negotiated, which would provide a cost savings for our residents with no difference in the service that they get, or any outages will be treated the same. Really, the customers should see no difference whatsoever other than a lower power bill.
That certainly is our goal, and we are working tirelessly to make sure that that's what we deliver. We are contemplating, and it appears that the rates that we may bring to you, we may ask the suppliers to quote a rate discount off of the ComEd rate. So instead of quoting a 7.2 cent rate, which nobody really quite understands, we may say, quote us a discount, so that they would say, all right, we will give you a 6% discount off the ComEd rate. Sure. That is a little bit, you know, easier to understand to the average resident. And that's what we're shooting for. If we get a quote higher than that, higher than the ComEd rate, then obviously we wouldn't be moving forward and recommending that we move forward. Only if we can get the discount. ComEd will continue to bill. ComEd will continue to service. The resident really, my guess is, won't notice any difference whatsoever. So the whole point of this, and the board, myself, kind of felt that anytime you can give the community an opportunity to have a say in government and an opportunity to save money, how can you go wrong? Ultimately, as the representatives of this community, if we determine that it's still not in the best interest, we don't have to move forward. But really, there's no downside for the community in this referendum, as you say. That's correct, and I appreciate. And again, I'll say I appreciate the board taking this up, because it affects the board in no way, form, financially in any way. There's no impact whatsoever to the board. You are simply trying to bring a rate savings to the resident with no noticeable, perceptible difference in, certainly in the quality service, certainly in the repair from ComEd, but on the billing it should be absolutely minimal. There should just be so little information about who the new power company is. That's about it. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I really want to thank you for being here today. We appreciate this opportunity for you to share with our residents what this referendum is all about. Obviously, you know that anytime the word referendum comes out, it normally has negative connotations with it. But in this case, it's purely the possibility of cost savings for our people out there. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We commend you for leading the cause. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for watching this program today. We just want you to be informed
to have the possibility of being able to save money. But it's certainly up to you. Any questions that you have, you can check our village website or contact us here at the Village Hall. Thank you.